Hi, my name's Lee Garrison. This is the end of my first semester at Marshall University. I'm specializing in clinical mental health counseling. Later down the line, way down the line, I hope to get into intimacy and couples counseling because I just love the intersection between mental health and intimacy. Humans were such inherent creatures of connection, and I think that loneliness and isolation and intimate relationships all have major impact on our mental health. It's something I'm really passionate about facilitating those relationships, ensuring that everyone has the healthiest relationships possible in their lives. Throughout this course, the things like the personality test and ethical dilemmas that we face have all been really beneficial to helping me understand my role as a counselor and the different things I need to grow and learn. One of the things I was really passionate about was the ethical paper. I really enjoyed working through all of the different ways you could resolve ethical dilemmas. I think it's really interesting that you have so many different options. I feel like we're going to run into instances where it's not going to be the best answer, but it's going to be what's the most beneficial for the client and what does the least harm. Counseling has a long history. It's not always been a profession that's been recognized. In the past, people, when they wanted help making decisions, they would go to people like religious figures, teachers. They would gather in big groups and to make decisions. They wouldn't just go to one person to help with decision making. There's been a lot of different approaches to counseling and helping people, like psychoanalysis, humanistic, and behavioralist approaches. The American Counseling Association was founded in 1952, but it wasn't originally called that. It was originally called the American Personnel and Guidance Association. It got renamed in 1983, and then again in 1992 was when it was named the American Counseling Association. They developed a code of ethics that really solidified the counseling profession. The American Counseling Association implemented foundational concepts of autonomy, non-maleficence, beneficence, justice, fidelity, and veracity in order to really implement what is foundational about counseling: doing no harm, doing what's best for the client, allowing clients to have their own decisions throughout the process. Counselors have a specific role depending on what their specialty is. They work in teams in schools, they work in teams with community outreach and mental health practices. In schools, they provide support to students and staff and families in order to help students become their best selves. Counselors contribute to community outreach by providing wellness initiatives in the community. They advocate for people who can't advocate for themselves. They do good within the community by ensuring that people are given the resources and support they need in order to best benefit their mental health. Multicultural counseling is critical in practice in order to craft empathetic and intimate relationships. Without multicultural counseling, the counseling relationship would fall flat. You need to understand and have empathy for what diverse populations are going through, because without it, you cannot craft those intimate relationships. Personal background is so crucial to the counseling relationship. When you counsel, you have to counsel like a whole person. You can't just counsel one part of them, and that includes their race, their ethnicity, their sex, their gender. All of these parts make who they are as an entire person, and all of those aspects contribute to their lived experiences. So if you ignore a part of that experience, you're ignoring that person and what they've lived. The American Code of Ethics, section A7A, states that counselors must advocate for clients at a community level, at an individual level, all to address barriers to growth. This is critical in multicultural counseling because if there is a barrier such as discrimination, racism, oppression, these things are a barrier to growth within the community and within an individual. So being a counselor and advocating for those individuals and advocating on a large scale is not only critical, it's also ethically mandated. Later down the line, after graduation, I do plan to be in the Ohio Counseling Association, just because I live in Ohio. I've always imagined I'm gonna be in Ohio for the rest of my life. I'm really interested in the Association of Counseling, Sexology, and Sexual Wellness. That's a facet of the American Counseling Association. As I said earlier, intimacy, sex, and the intersection of mental health are really important to me. In terms of ethical considerations, one of the ethical standards I align with is boundaries of competence. This is C2A in the ACA Code of Ethics. In order to align with this, I'm going to ensure that I'm communicating with my supervisors and my on-site supervisors and my advisors and any mentor that's in my life to ensure competency. If I'm working with a client and I think that I can't best serve them in my scope of competence, I will speak to my supervisors. I want to make sure that the client is getting the best help that they can. In Ohio, the job outlook for counselors is a 19% growth over the next 10 years. So that is a really good thing because that means that I'm going into a field that needs people. According to Data Ohio, as of 2021, mental health services account for 52% of the health demand in Ohio, and they'll need to fill 1,500 positions per year in Ohio. Supervision has a major role in my growth as a counselor. As I said before, the bounds of professional competence, one of those ways to get better at counseling is to have a supervisor and to have an advisor, a mentor, someone who can help you with these ethical decisions. It says in the ACA Code of Ethics that if you do not feel capable, you need to refer to your supervisor or your peers in order to get help with a situation. When it comes to my personal strengths as a counselor, I definitely feel like I will have a good connection with clients. I think that I'm easy to talk to. I think that I also have a really large capacity for knowledge of skills. I feel like I know what counseling's supposed to look like. I think that understanding the science of counseling is going to be something that comes really easy to me. I think understanding the art of counseling is where the limitation is going to be a little bit. I feel a lot of anxiety about feeling true empathy for my clients. That was something that I was really worried about the beginning of the semester that I connected with some other students about. At the end of the semester, I feel a lot different about that. I think that empathy is a skill, and that's something that I've definitely learned throughout this class, that it is not something that just you wake up and you have. It's a learned skill, and I think that throughout my graduate program, I'm definitely going to get better at it. I also think that empathy is a part of the science of counseling, and that is something that you can learn. I think that some of the things I could grow in counseling is my time management and my course load. I did feel a little anxious, a little overwhelmed this semester. I think I jumped in a little too hard. Got my plate a little full. So I think that time management is definitely something that I'm going to have to get a little better at throughout my coursework. I think that taking time to rest is a really important self-care thing I need to work on. Graduating is a main goal of mine throughout my professional growth. Another thing is I'd really like to connect with counselors and other mentors and other students who are not in the program. I'd really like to have a better support system in Ohio as I go through the program, as well as, since that's where I'll be practicing, I want to make those connections. Hopefully, when I look back on this video, when I graduate, I am in a different place. Hopefully better, hopefully just as good, but I'm really optimistic about the future and what it holds, and I hope to learn a lot. Thank you.